Larry comes in, we'll just bring him up to date on everything that's happened. Chris, you ready? Kenny, let's call the meeting of the Madison County Fiscal Court to order.
Master King.
Here.
Master Barger.
Here.
Master Hughes.
Here.
Master Combs. Judge Clark.
Here. You all have to excuse me a little bit. Of course, it's a good time, the holidays, and I hope I don't get all you all sick. My wife's in bed this morning, and I think I gave it to her, but I'm going to try to get to the doctor today. So anyway, I'll keep my mouth covered. You all have had a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting. If there are no changes or discussion, a motion will be in order to approve those as submitted in your packets.
So moved. Second.
Master King.
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. I'm sorry. Treasurer's report. Glenna.
I sent the report out in your all's Dropbox, and if you've had time to look at it, the fund balance on October 31st, 2013 was $6,155,728.30, and our fund balance as on November 30th, 2013 is $7,398,647.94. Our general funds for the end of November, our revenues are at 48.5%, and our expenditures are at 31.5%. Our road fund is at 48.3%, and our expenditures are at 30.4%. Our jail fund revenues are at 42.4%, and our expenditures are at 42.1%. CSEP fund, the revenues are at 15%, and the expenditures are at 13.3%. In our 911 fund, the revenues are 41.1%, and the expenditures are at 37.4%. Does anybody have any questions that they looked over the weekend at the report?
Looks good.
No questions. Thanks,
All right.
Glenna. And those are available. I mean, you all have copies there, but you can get a hard copy if you like. Let's go on into order of business. And first off, we are very pleased to have probably the best tourism director in the whole state of Kentucky. Lori Tatum's here, and Lori wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on and how everything went, and just the hospitality, I think, of Madison County. Lori?
Well, thank you. I'm going to come to your meetings more often. You guys are a lot of fun. I just wanted to come before you all today and thank you. I couldn't live in a better place, and I'm a little bit biased, but I think Richmond and Madison County, Berea, is one of the very best places to live, and we have the very best people that you can imagine that work for our city governments. A couple weeks ago, as you all remember, the Christmas parade was scheduled for December 6th, and unfortunately, the weather wasn't bright and sunny that day. And my good friends at CSAP, Richard, Michael, Kelly, and Dustin, called them up, and I said, guys, what are we going to do? And they treated me just like family and brought us all in and made calls and made the best decision possible for our city. And I just can't thank them enough for being so very kind to us. And then Chief Cox was wonderful. He called and said, what can I do to help? And came in and really helped us with our parade. And I just want to tell you all what a great, great staff you have and how kind they are to me. And I also wanted to tell you guys that it's kind of strange how things happen. December 6th, we thought, well, we don't have a parade. It's going to be an easy day in the office. And you all know how sometimes that happens. It doesn't work out that way. And we got a call from a lady with Rockwood Bridge Bank Club. And she said, I have 50 people on a tour bus stuck in Richmond, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. So, of course, we said, well, okay, what are we going to do? And in the later months of the year, both of our state parks actually closed. So we said, well, that's not necessarily an option, but we were able to work something out with Fort Boonesboro. And she said, I hate to tell you this, but we don't have any money. She said, we've already planned our trip. We've already got it just the way we want it to be. And do you have anything cheap that we can do for the entire day? So I called my good friend, Philip Seifert. I said, Philip, what are we going to do? So we made a plan for this nice lady. We decided that she was going to go to Fort Boonesboro for a while. She was going to have lunch in Richmond. She came to Irvington. We dressed up in our historic clothes. We had a reception for her, and then Philip said, "You bring her out to me, and I'll take care of her." And I just want to read you all a little snippet of the letter that she wrote, and this actually appeared in her paper in Missouri, and it's actually, she's going to write a letter to the editor here in Richmond. But her name is Marilyn Mays, and she said, "I can't tell you how much I appreciate all that you did to help the group and help me, so that we would have a wonderful extra day in Richmond, Kentucky. The house that you have and the refreshments that you have are wonderful. The Civil War historic home was priceless, and the people really enjoyed Philip Seifert and talking with him. He even drove us to the restaurant so the coach driver would not get lost. That was above and beyond helping out a neighbor. We also went to the fort, and they were really nice, and the passengers really loved learning about Daniel Boone. My customers have told everyone back here in St. Louis how great you are, and they are talking up your town to the hilt. Thank you again, and we will make sure that we thank everyone involved, and we want to let you know that we will be coming to your town for years after, and we can't wait to see you this summer. We hope you have a magical holiday." So that's just one of the things, that it's not just us that thinks we're wonderful. It's 51 people from St. Louis thought we were great too. So I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and thank you all so very much for treating me like family and treating me like one of your own, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you. Okay, Carl's got personnel at CSEP. I think y'all got some stuff in your packets.
There should be evaluation sheets and then like cover sheets of if they did a application or at least a resume. That was all sent out last week. Did everyone get that? Because if not, I brought at least the grading sheet. I brought extra copies in case you guys didn't get it. But we had 6 people apply for the job. It's replacing the position that was vacated when Clay left to go to City of Berea. Most of the activities would be GIS related, but we'll also be having this person do some logistics and some hazard analysis stuff. 6 people applied. We interviewed all 6, figured we might as well. One of them had to be a phone interview because he was in Colorado. That's where he lives right now. Based on experience, educational background, fit for our group, we'd like the permission to hire Paul Schrader. He used to be the GIS coordinator down in Berea. He left Berea I guess it was this year sometime. But anyway, I'd like permission to hire Paul to our group. I think he'd be an asset to us. Comes pretty highly recommended by some people I trust quite a bit. Some of the other guys were great, but just didn't have the experience or the fit or weren't local, and it was going to take them a while to learn our county. You know, they were coming from other states or other places, so. I'll answer any questions you guys have about that. You know, on Michael's score sheet, he got 9 points out of 16. On mine, he got 8 out of 16, but that was the high score. Our low score was 3 out of 16.
Had some good candidates there, too.
We did. The second place guy, if we can find a position for him, we'd love to have him. He is a high energy, very articulate young man that's got a really good head on his shoulders and seems like he's got a really great heart. So we'd like to find him a fit at some point. We're going to keep his information.
I make a motion we hire Paul Schrader.
Second.
Pastor King,
Yes.
Pastor Barger,
Yes.
Pastor Hughes.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes.
Let's call Larry again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl. Okay, next is library board appointments, and every year what happens is the board kind of nominates 2 for each position that becomes vacant. Ray DeSlover has moved out of town to be with his grandchild. I talked to Ray the other day, matter of fact, and he loves it. He's just excited about spending so much time with his family. So what we're doing is replacing Ray and then also renewing somebody. And Roger's very active in the library board, I have to say. I talk to Ruthie on a regular basis, and she's just she's a joy. She's a treat to work with, and really appreciates the fiscal court being represented by Roger, coming to all the meetings. And Roger and I have talked about these appointments also, but the first one, I'd like to reappoint Dr. Chris Boney to the library board. Chris has served 1 term and does just an outstanding job. I can't say enough for him. And I'd like to reappoint him to a term that would expire January 1st of 2017.
You want a motion? So moved.
Second.
Pastor King, Pastor Barger,
Yes.
Pastor Hughes, Judge Clark.
Yes. The other one, came down to two individuals, and one we're very familiar with, one that has been active in everything going on with Richmond, was one of the main players in the Battlefield project, and has the time to really devote to the library, and is excited about the opportunity to serve. And I would like the court's permission to appoint Charles Hay, and his term would expire January 1st of 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Master King,
Yes.
Mr. Barger. Yes. Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Excuse me. Next is seal bids for replacing the rooftop heating and air conditioning unit at the detention center. We've been kind of putting it off because the weather was kind of suitable, but it's going to get cold. It already has gotten cold. This thing's been out for quite a while. Oh, Larry. Good morning. So we have, we put the specs together and advertised for it. You all have copies of those specs in, and we received two bids, and it's a rooftop unit, it's taking it off and replacing it, and also a lot of lines and things. And Mark, have you got the two bids?
I do, Judge. I've reviewed them both. They're both properly sealed and received before the cutoff date, which was Friday the 13th at 3. One was from TECO, I guess, TECO, mechanical contractor from over in Lexington, and the other was submitted by Central Kentucky Sheet Metal Paint Look.
Okay,
I'll keep those and hand those over to the clerk at the end of the meeting, and then we can let the appropriate folks review them after that.
Okay, that'd be fine. Thanks, Mark.
Judge, this hadn't got anything to do with the roof leak that he had, though. He was telling me he had a roof leak, but it doesn't involve this here. Okay.
Don't think so. I'm not aware of it, Roger.
Okay.
I know it's been out for a long time, and it does just one section of it, and it just got to the point where we were gonna have to replace it.
Okay.
I think I talked to all of y'all 3 or 4 or 5 months ago. We just put it off as long as we could. Next is the sheriff's budget, 2014 sheriff's budget, and Mike and Tommy and Glenn and I, we worked several days on this, and what we're trying to do, you all have got copies in your packets, is help Mike as much as we can with what money we have, which, like everybody else, we're okay, but very conservative and watch what we spend. The key thing to Mike is he's having trouble keeping some of these part-time bailiffs, which he is reimbursed $9 an hour from the state, and he's got 2 really good ones he's afraid he's going to lose, and he'd like to move them to full-time with a $1 raise. That would move them to $10, which $9 of that would be reimbursed. But the additional fringe benefits would be included that would not be reimbursed from the state. So that would be an increase in his budget. There's some training required now. It's a total of that he hadn't had before of $12,000 that you all can see on there. Plus, I think the main thing, and Mike's really cracking down, matter of fact, just working with state police just made a really good bust, is he's got a full-time working the drug task, and he's got a part-time who's very good, and he'd like to move him to full-time. And other than that, his cars are broke down. He's spending so much trying to replace them, and we've helped him some. Of course, he's paying as Sheriff Combs. We helped him, and they're paying for one of those at a time. But it's not enough to keep the fleet even halfway runnable. They're spending so much trying to keep them. So Mike's asked the court for us to purchase 4 cars for him. He feels like that, with the 3 that he just bought and the 4 that Jerry bought, will get him in a really good position with vehicles. Not the greatest, but it'll get him in a position where he doesn't have 3 or 4 broke down all the time. So that in a nutshell is the sheriff's budget. The main thing I'll point out on there is that he has added from his 25% contribution to the court. Those collections are up, and that money is raised, so you'll see that in your budget. And also, when Jerry came in, we helped him with employees and stuff and went to 265 as far as a contribution from the court. We moved that back to 175, and then with all of these changes and the 4 cars, that would go back to a $350,000 contribution this year from the fiscal court. That's it in a nutshell. You have copies of it. Copies are available to anybody and everybody. But Mike, would you like to say something about how things are going on? I mean,
Well, I really appreciate if you all would strongly look at this budget. Like I said, we have excellent employees. They work very diligently every day to do what we're supposed to do here in Madison County. Of course, our 3 main things are protecting the courts, serving papers, and collecting taxes. We're projected to collect, I think, $45 million, and everything's going good there. Like anywhere, we're really short on our staff for a county of 90,000 people, and but we do the job. It's really hard sometimes to make our schedules. This summer alone, we had 4 people off on injuries. We had one with a back injury and probably be retiring. As far as a disability, we had another one with a broke foot. We had another one with a injured knee that stepped in a open water meter late at night looking for a suspect and wrenched his knee. And then we had one that was out for several weeks in a car accident that wasn't his fault. So our scheduling has been pretty difficult, but we've still been able to maintain, and like I say, we're up on our numbers. We've got a lot of things that we've set goals for this coming year that we're going to be policing with what staff we have, and I think that the fiscal court, I think you all will see that these employees that we have, our staff, our court security staff, as well as our deputies, I don't think you could find any better dedicated or devoted employees. And if you all will work with us on this budget, we're not going to waste money, but I think if you can find it in your hearts to work with us, that we will produce as usual and try to get this crime problem under control here as much as possible. Of course, about 85% of that's drug related. And one of the goals is to try to get this county declared as a HIDA county so that we can work more and try to get more federal funding. We're working on a grant now for VEST for our officers, and CAECO, of course, they come in at times and step in and tell us what we have to do and what we need to do. But we're on our way, if y'all will just assist us a little bit.
I might add that Mike, one of his priorities was hiring new staff, but this budget includes no new staff. He felt like the cars really had to keep what staff he's got on the roads instead of working on the cars. And I told him that we'd take a look at that at the next budget of the possibility of increasing as we grow. We're a little over 87,000 now. All indications show us over 95 to 98,000 by the year 2020. So we're going to have to start looking at that, but we felt like it was important to protect the court, get people that were dependable, could be there on different shifts, and also get his fleet kind of up to date so he's not spending all his money working on cars. And I'll be more than glad to answer any questions, and Mike's here, and he'll be more than glad to answer any questions.
I've talked to Mike a little bit mainly about the cars, and I think the new cars he's got is working out good. The smaller engine may not have the power at the others, but he's decided that they don't need that power. They need the economy, and that's what it's doing. It's helping with the fuel mileage. And I'm assuming these new ones you said would be the same way, same engine.
V6.
Yeah. People comes in and pays their taxes, but they like to see the sheriff's department out in the county, and they can't do their job if they don't have their equipment.
Any other comments?
When,
Larry?
was this budget just given to us this morning?
Yeah, we just did it Friday.
How come I wasn't invited for that session?
Well, I was gonna come to your house this weekend and I wasn't able. I called you last night.
I'm always available. I mean,
Well, I wasn't. I was in
well,
bed.
you was available when you met with the other masters. You could have met with me too. I don't know why I wasn't invited. Yeah, I've got several questions. One is the 3 cars that we bought, where do we stand on those? Have we paid for them or?
No, the sheriff pays for those. It's the same deals we did with when Sheriff Combs was here. We bought them. He pays for 1 a year, and he paid for 3, so we refinanced the loan and bought 3 cars. But it's in his budget, as you'll see, that he's continuing to pay for those 1 car at a time, 1 car a year.
We made a payment on one of them a few months ago, and then we're getting the money now to make another payment on one of this person.
How many employees do you have, Mike?
Got 43 part-time, full-time altogether. That's court security, it's office staff, and deputies.
Have you included a raise in here for all these employees?
Yes.
I asked for a raise and we were able to get everybody.
Is that a percentage raise or?
2% across the board, just like we do in the county every year.
So how much is this more than last year's? You got 2,936,000. How much more is this year than last year? 350?
75. Of course, you have to look at the increase in collections, increase in other thing, but approximately, Mike, I'm gonna say $300,000,
Close to it.
right at 300,000 higher than last year.
How much is 4 new cars, Mike? 20-something apiece?
They're about, with the radios and everything that we have to have, they're about 34,000 apiece. Somewhere in that area.
Well, I know you gotta have vehicles, like Roger said, I understand that. But you know, this is 11 cars in 2 years. That ought to have you in pretty good shape, shouldn't it?
Well,
How many cars do you have?
we have a memorandum of understanding with the Kentucky State Police that they're the primary call taker in this county. And like I was stating earlier, that's not worked. We're answering more of the calls. So if you buy a new car, the new cars that Sheriff Combs and I purchased when we first come in, 3 out of those 4 have got close to 100,000 miles on them. So it doesn't take long when you're answering calls. This county has got 1,160-something highway miles, surrounded by 7 different counties, population 90-something thousand people. And we don't have the manpower. In other words, when a guy is on a schedule and he has to work over because he's working an investigation, working an accident, or whatever, we have to take time off sometime towards the end of the week or whatever because we don't pay overtime. So then some of the cars that we've had to double up on some of them because the other cars have been in the shop. So it's always a car issue or a maintenance issue because of our shortage on manpower, but yet our cars that we have, like I say, they get worked pretty hard even though we have the home fleet plan. And then the transporting of prisoners on a daily basis, the juveniles, the adult prisoners that we transport.
Mike, if we're gonna talk for a while, let's get to the podium because people out there can't hear while you're explaining this and kind of start over just a little bit to Larry's last question.
Like I say, on the transporting of prisoners that we do on a daily basis with the juveniles and the adults. With this new e-warrant system that come in, they pulled a lot of warrants off the shelf, older warrants, so we're constantly on the run transporting, so that puts a lot of miles on our cars on a daily basis. The 3 new cars that we've purchased, they're on the road. Like I said, we entertained the idea to go with the larger engine, but we decided to go with the new police package, which is a V6 with the Police Interceptor V6 motor, and that seems to be working fine. You know, we have to look at our pursuit policy, some of the things that brings on, and, you know, we're changing that now. So I don't think being out on the interstate and doing a lot of things, I think more direction needs to be here at our county where we're patrolling or servicing the citizens of this county. So that's one reason we asked to go to the V6 for fuel costs, maintenance costs. But our engines in those, I think, will be good. I think the longevity of them, I think, is going to be fine.
When you say you're gonna make 2 full-time instead of part-time, that's bailiffs?
That will be, the court allows 1 full-time, well, a bailiff is no longer used. The new word now, it's a court security officer. But the AOC, Administrative Office of the Court, they allow us 1 full-time court security officer for each judge. So we have 7 judges. And they reimburse us the $9 per hour. And of course, the full-time would be like, we could pay them like $10 an hour, which would give them $1 over the 10. And the 9 would be a wash, but that 10 would give them $1 on the hour. And then we would have 2 full-time members for the staff of the judges. And then we would have the part-time that is a wash because we get it paid back. But now some of those make just a little bit more, 50 cents or so on the hour more.
Will these full-time get benefits?
The 7, we have 5 now that's full-time, and the other 2 would get benefits.
I'm sure you calculate that in.
Yeah, that's about $20,000 per year per individual for the package, roughly.
Have you thought, or has anyone thought, about going back to the school board and ask for an increase on what y'all take in for them?
Well,
It was done at one time, and they flatly said no, but you know by law, you don't have to collect it. And how would they collect it?
School board can collect their own taxes, Larry.
That's what I say, I know they can, but.
Well, it'd be detrimental to the sheriff's office to lose that much income. I mean, you know, most other counties get more than we do, but it's been tested. I've been to the 2 superintendents since Dude took them to court, and the court overruled on that. You've got to show a justification why they pay more than what they pay for collecting taxes, and it's really hard to do. So, you know, and when you look at, well, let the school board collect their own, then that really defeats the purpose because that revenue comes off the sheriff's collection rate, and it would kill him. I mean, I've talked to 2 superintendents in the last 10 years asking them, is there any way, and they're just not interested in talking about it.
yeah, we've had conversations with school board members. We've had conversations with other people, the amount, percentage that we collect, and if they could up it for us, that's not gone too good because of all the expenses they have. The big piece of the pie of the $45 million that's proposed to be collected, I think the school board gets about 25%. So I don't think they're probably wanting to relinquish too much of that tax money.
If you had something that you could offer them,
Well, there again, myself and Sheriff Combs, when I was his chief deputy, we were entertaining the idea of trying to get more officers in the schools and work something out where they could help pay for that, and they would be making maybe a partial payment for a deputy. But the situation is that when you're so short of some of the things I've already explained to you, unless they go along with that, we can't hire anybody and send them out there for school for several hours. When you get a emergency medical detention run, and that takes a deputy several hours out of his shift. If we have a domestic that takes place, that takes 2 deputies to go that. If you're working an accident and it's an injury accident, you're going to have more than 1 deputy there, one working the accident, one trying to keep the traffic, maintain it. There are so many things in this business that's unforeseen on a daily basis. But yet, we would like for the school board to give us more percentage. That would definitely help us out. But there's so many things that we do, even though we collect certain fees, and some of those fees are pretty good for us, but there's other problems that has confronted us. House Bill 463, where we, and Mark, we've talked about that, and House Bill 463, basically we're citing people to come to court rather than putting them in jail and then letting them bond out. We're asking them to come to court, and then when they don't come, then we have to turn right around and spend our manpower, spend our maintenance on vehicles and everything to run them down. Before, at first you already had them in your clutches. Now you've lost them. Now you got to go get them again. This new bill where the dropout rate from a student from 16 is going to climb to 18. That's going to put even more burden on us, on our juveniles, where it's truancy or out of control. There's a lot of things that I perceive right now that's going to be taking place in our future. And, about 85% of the crimes that's being committed is drug-related. And, you can look over to Madison County Detention Center and see what we do, because we keep it pretty full with our patrol arrest, as well as all the warrants and everything that's executed, and all the other Berea City and the City of Richmond and the state police. I would love to get more fees that would take the burden off the fiscal court from the school board. We're trying to get an economical purchase on a vehicle that doesn't cause a lot of expense. And, I would entertain any idea that anybody has.
Well, I know you have to have vehicles. I understand you have to have staff. But really, I guess where I'm coming from is, that's 11 cars in 2 years, which I'm sure you need. I'm not saying you don't, but it's just like the road department. We have not replaced a backhoe, a grader, or a truck in 5 years. And used to, we would buy at least 2 trucks every year. And I don't even know how they're getting by the way they are. So you have to treat all departments the same. So, if we do one for one, we got to do for the others. I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I don't know that the county's ever bought a vehicle. Since I've been here, we've been paying for the vehicles. Now, we've asked this time for you all to assist in purchase them. But Sheriff Combs, he bought 4. We're in the process of paying for 3 more out of grants and different things that we get. But I mean, if you want quality work, you're going to have the people to do it, and you're going to have the tools to do it with.
You do a good job. I'm not faulting you there at all. I'm not faulting you, but I'm just saying you have to look at both sides of the picture.
Well, I do look at both sides of the picture, and what I'm this is the budget that we need. I would like to have more manpower. If we can't get it, we're going to do everything we can to make it work. But you know, the way I look at it, we're here to protect lives and property and the rights of the citizens of this county. And, you know, we answer urgent emergency calls, and, you know, I feel that we have a staff that's very dedicated, very loyal, and I'll stand up and fight for them to get what we can get. If not, you know, we're not been able to do what we need to do for the citizens of this county. And it's pretty embarrassing whenever we have one officer on one end of the county and one on the other end of the county, and we get a call, and you know, it takes time, and then when that officer's en route, his car breaks down, and you know, then you have to have it towed in, and you know, things go wrong when these cars get 150 and 160 something thousand miles on them. I wouldn't be asking if we didn't need them.
And Larry,
I'm sure you
that's
need
kind of an unfair comparison to road department equipment. and
Well, I was
shit.
just setting an example, Judge. We haven't bought anything.
Well, we haven't had to.
And I know you need them. Don't get me wrong, I know you need them.
And then, you know, like I said, this transporting of prisoners is on a daily basis. A lot of those times we don't even get paid for, but, you know, it's not been long ago, we had one of our units, you know, on their way to Simpsonville, and the vehicle broke down with prisoners in it. You know, that's not a good, that's not a good spot to be in. But, you know, I would like for you to take a look again at this budget, and, you know, just think about some things we talked about, and we're here to do our job. Whatever we end up with, we're not going to back up or go sideways. We're going to go forward.
Well, you know, if you look at the constitutional duties of your office is what you said, collect taxes and support the courts. But the fact of the matter is, the sheriff's department is the biggest law enforcement force we have in the county. How many state police?
When I worked as a trooper, I think we had, at one time, we had 14 troopers that worked Madison County. Now, I was talking with one of them the other day, they're down to either 8 or 9. And now they also have certain details that come along. Whatever detail comes along where it's Derby or whatever, they pull these units from different counties, they send them off, and they're going to be gone for several days. I mean, that was my...
Sometimes on weekend, there is maybe 2 state troopers or 3 in the whole county. So
If they have that many out. Now, like I said, we have a memorandum of understanding with state police, and one thing that we do, and that I worked out with them, that we would take and try to handle all calls, because we have 3 shifts. On the 3rd shift, that we would try to handle all calls from 12 o'clock midnight, 6 o'clock in the morning, and let their troopers, without having to call them out, pay them compensatory time or overtime money, that we would handle those calls unless it was something that we had to call them on. And, you know, I know we don't have the manpower, the resources on a lot of death investigations, so I try to allow them to take those, because, you know, that would tie up numerous officers in our department that we could not afford, and we need to think of the victims and the victims of the crime and let state police do what they do and do best. So with those coming out at midnight, where our 3rd shift comes on at 10 o'clock and works to 6 o'clock in the morning, normally on a good night we may have 3 people out, but we're stressed to always have 2 out because of the domestic violence, where we have to have at least 2 and other things that take place. So we try to handle those calls, and then they sleep in, whatever, and then when they come back out, it starts coming back out at 06 or 08 or 10 a.m. or whatever their shifts designate their troopers for. When they come out, our understanding is that let us do our sheriff's duties. Let us go out here and serve our civil papers and all our process, writs, vacate orders, inspect cars, and do all this. Let us do our sheriff's duties. Help us out during the first and second shift, and then on third shift, we'll help you. And that's started out, it's been going good when it goes good, but like I say, they just don't have the manpower right now. And of course now all that feeds back on us. And our one problem here that's going to have to be addressed sometime in the future is our 911 system and them having a dispatch center. Sometimes they will call our people and send us to a call, and the state police will show up if they're out, or vice versa. So there's a lot of duplicate call taking at times, and then it's embarrassing sometimes when when the state police gets a call and they don't advise us and they're holding the call. And an hour or two goes by and then they call and say, can you send a deputy out here to 421 Boonesboro Road? And then we come out, now this person that called 2 hours ago, he's mad. Where have you been? Why has it took so long? So now the sheriff's department gets the blame for it when the state police actually got the initial call, but they held the call because they didn't have enough people out or whatever, and then it comes to us. So we've had a lot of communication issues.
Have you got most of them worked out now?
It's not foolproof, but it's a little better.
I know you got a tough job. Everybody don't really realize how much you need it until they need you. And as we all know, that vehicles, they get older, and I fool with them every day. And, you know, it'd be nice to have a new fleet, but as looking at that, and we just want to be conservative with taxpayers' dollars. And I think you're doing a wonderful job for us, financial restraints and trying to do what you can do for the people of Madison County. And we got plenty of law agencies. We got the Richmond Police Force. We got the Berea Police Force. We got the Eastern. We've got, you know, all of those DOTs, state. And you add all that together and you think, boy, we should be every road covered. But then again, everybody's got their own places they got to be at the right time. And I want us to protect the county citizens that's out there in the county that, you know, a lot of times a car don't pass by and maybe somebody break in or, you know, different things. So I'm all for us as doing what the sheriff wants, and as far as that, as long as it's protecting our county citizens and reaching out to advance them in their needs that they have. So
I appreciate that, Mr. King. And one thing that I want to add, you know, Richmond has jurisdiction, then in Richmond and Berea, but we have the county. It's just like state police. But most people don't realize the importance of some things until it happens to you or your family. But I think the state of Kentucky is 4 million and right at 400,000 people population-wise. And out of that, there is right at, if not less, right at 8,000 sworn law enforcement officers, certified police officers. That's state police, sheriffs, city police. So, you know, when you take one law enforcement officer and divide that up, that's pretty thin. But you know, we know what our duties are. And like I said, we've got an excellent office staff and our court security. I think if you talk to any of the judges or any of the attorneys that go over there, I think that they will express their feelings. I know our deputies are, these guys really pull together. And after the death of Sheriff Combs, just within minutes of his passing, that department pulled together like you can't believe. And I think, I know I'm proud of them, and I hope that you all are proud of them and what they do on a daily basis. And, you know, our invitation is still out there for for you all to come by and watch us work on a daily basis, get out there and ride with the deputies and some of these calls. If you're out there riding, we'll let you be the first one through the door. But I appreciate, and I just hope y'all can consider this budget.
2 points, Mike, thanks. I appreciate it before you sit down. 2 points I'd like to make. First, there are 11 counties in the state of Kentucky over 70,000 people. When you go over 70, you go into a fee pool. And in other words, the clerk and the sheriff really do all their transactions through the state. The state pays all their bills. They collect all the money. They give us back our 25%, and then in turn, we give it back to the state on his behalf. There's one county in the 11 that contributes to their sheriff less than we do. So we're trying to increase that. Now, most of these counties have a lot more money than we do, I'll admit that. But still, again, if we can slowly but surely, and that's what I told Mike, look at it on a yearly basis, look at our finances, which are really good right now, and continue to increase this 1 year, maybe a couple of new officers and then some new cars. But we'd like to continue to increase our contribution to the sheriff to keep him one of the best in the state of Kentucky. Secondly, is a lot of people don't understand, there are 33,000 people in the incorporated limits of Richmond. There are 13,000 in the incorporated limits of Berea. I don't know, they've probably got 100 law officers between them covering those two cities. There are over 40,000 people that live in the unincorporated limits of Madison County. So with Mike's staff of 40-something people, and that's office and bailiff and stuff, he does an excellent job. And as I told him, we're going to try to help him a little bit at a time. You can't just all of a sudden bump that number from 350 up to $500,000, but I think we can do that in the next couple of years. So, Mike, I think the court feels like you do an excellent job. We're glad to have you. We're tickled to death. We're lucky to have you. And
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the sheriff's budget for 14.
Make a motion that we accept the budget from the sheriff.
Second.
Pastor King?
Yes.
Pastor Barger?
Yes.
Pastor Hughes?
Yes.
Pastor Combs?
No.
Judge Clark?
Yes.
I'd like to add one more thing if I could. We don't get, those officers over there don't get overtime. But it's amazing how they volunteer their time to go out there and work the Madison County Fair detail. And we've developed Honor Guard. They do this on their own time, just like the parades and different things. And I think it just shows what kind of employees that we have over there and what they feel and about the county that they represent. So they do a lot of things on their own without any,
No overtime, no comp time.
right.
Thanks, Mike. All right, sheriff's budget. Second reading of ordinance 1309, amend subdivision regulations. Dwayne, I did a brief synopsis of that the first reading. Second reading, it's pretty much in stone, trying to cover ourselves on new development.
Yes, sir. The big change with this regulation change is that it mandates that in new subdivisions that get developed, it mandates now that before we will approve the final subdivision plat, the final cap of asphalt has to be put on the roads. And then they have to still put up a letter of credit or a bond to cover 50% of the total cost of the final cap. And we will retain that letter of credit until 75% of the lots in that subdivision have completed structures on it. So we're still protecting the final cap of asphalt should something happen to it during the major part of construction that takes place in a subdivision. But this gets the final cap on, which is where we've been falling short through several years because of the rising cost of asphalt. As we'd said before, a lot of the letter of credits we have were based upon asphalt cost of being $40 a ton, and now it's $80 a ton. So the letters of credit that we have on file now are nowhere near adequate to cover the final cap of asphalt should the company that developed the subdivision were to go belly up. then we're going to be left holding the bag and using taxpayer dollars to go in and finish up a subdivision. So this helps to protect the county in the future. We can't do anything with the ones that we've got on file now, but any new developments that come up in the future, this is the way it'll be done.
Any questions?
I think it's a pretty good plan. I talked to Berea and Richmond. They all have the same problem, these 10-year-old subdivisions that don't have the final cap. And then there's some good argument. If you put that final cap on and you keep building, it ain't gonna hold up under these,
Well, it should though, Billy Ray. If you get the right compaction, you put your 10 inches of rock, you put your tubes down, you do it right, then they should hold up. And then with the 3 inches, we've looked at it.
well, I'm
Leroy's
glad
looked at it.
that he's still taking a letter of credit even after the, so
That's right.
That's pretty good. I just think that the other cities ought to be looking at that too.
Yeah.
That seemed like a pretty good option.
Part of the problem that we found with the roads breaking down as badly as what they do is, of course, the base coat of asphalt is so much more porous. It allows the water to get under the blacktop, then it'll freeze, and you get the expansion contraction deal. But the second thing is the storm the sewer, the catch basins are designed where the asphalt would be even with the edge of the curb, and the water can't get into the catch basin to get out of the road, so it leaves more water laying out there in the road, which continues to compound the problems. So I agree. I think this is a good fix to the problem and will help us in the future to be able to keep from having to spend taxpayer dollars to go in and finish up a subdivision.
And if it doesn't work, we'll learn and
We'll drop back and punt.
yeah.
I think it'd be a great improvement, because I've got a subdivision in my district now that's been developed long time, and the people deserves a smooth road to ride on, especially if they buy and build houses, and then the road is rougher than a gravel road coming in and out of, where the developers don't follow through with their plan. And I know this, we brought this up, that this will inspire and plus make it better for the landowners to have a good road when they're coming in and out. And they shouldn't have to suffer. And as I'd like for us, I know we ain't gonna do it right now, but as we're talking about this, but I'll talk about the other later. But I think it's a good idea, and it'd be great for the citizens that's buying a house in a subdivision that's being developed.
Okay, motion approve second reading of 1309, amend the subdivision regulations.
So move.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Dwayne, why don't you stand there just a second? This one, we don't need you for. It's the second reading of 1310, amend the ordinance. And this is correct the road name. The road name was, I think, incorrectly identified as Reba Drive, and it should have been listed as Concord, and this came up in Kenny's
Yes, sir. in our
dealings with getting the precinct straight.
precinct lines.
And he has talked that in depth, and I think everybody understands that. So, motion be in order to approve second reading of 1310, which is the correct the road name.
So move.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Dwayne, the next one is an order, it's a land use denial from R1 to R7, Douglas and Julie Peterson. And we really don't have to vote on this because nobody showed up. It was denied by the planning commission, but do you want to just brief us on it so everybody knows exactly what it is?
Yes, so this is property at the end of Forest Lane. It's in a subdivision that was developed years ago. It's 10-acre tract development. It was zoned for single-family residential. It was restricted for single-family residential. One of the property owners in there was asking to change it from single-family residential to agricultural. Several of the residents in the neighborhood were concerned with the zone change, felt like it could very well compromise the integrity and the intent for the subdivision. And so the Planning Commission, after public hearing, made a finding of fact and recommended approved that the zone change would be denied. We waited the 21 days that's now, according to our ordinance, the 21 days for anyone to appeal to the fiscal court to get your position on it, and no one made that appeal. So the order in front of you is to deny the zone change request and authorize me to actually just to leave the map alone, not to make those changes. So this is just an order coming forward to go on record that the zone change was denied.
What was so unusual, it was a request to go to agricultural. How often does that happen, that someone wants to change from residential to agricultural?
Yeah, it's not very often, and part of their concern was in an agricultural zone, for example, dog kennels, doggy daycare type facilities, those are listed as permitted uses in an agricultural zone, assuming that you've got more acreage, you've got more room to be able to do that, where in a residential zone, that's not a permitted use. So some of the concern was, even though most of the time agricultural zoning is, it limits more activity from a commercial business standpoint, but in this particular case, it was going to be more adverse, according to the residents out there, than just keeping it residential. So, yeah, it is a little bit unique for somebody to want to go back down to ag. Generally, everybody's looking for a zone change up, as I call it. Yeah.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to vote on this one. Judge's report, don't have a whole lot, just it's been a really good year for the fiscal court, for residents of all of Madison County. We've got a great relationship with Richmond and Bree. Everything's going well. I just want to wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And thank you all for coming in. We'll go to department heads. Does anybody have anything? Dwayne?
Two things, real simple. One is I've got my year-end report. Just wanted to share with you guys and let you see the how construction activity. Here's the first report. If you don't mind, pass that around, Kenny. Those are first report you're getting is a report of building permit activity for 2013, and then we did a comparison with 2012 just so you could kind of see what's going on there. And basically, it's like everybody would assume. We've been fairly flat. 2012, we issued for all purposes. We issued permits for a total estimated construction cost of $26,555,000. 2013, we were at $23,400,000. So we were down almost $4 million in construction cost in 2013 over 2012. So that number's gone down. You'll see in that on the building permits by type table there, you'll see that new single-family dwellings went up from $18,400,000 to $18,700,000. So there's a little bit of an increase in construction cost, although there were 4 fewer permits for single-family dwellings. They jumped up and were building. We had several larger homes that were constructed this year in excess of $400,000, which tends to jump those numbers up pretty well. But you'll see the rest of those numbers in red are showing a reduction in estimated construction cost from 2012 to 2013. Second page shows other permits that we issue in the office. Electrical permits, you'll see they went down. 2012, we issued 629 permits. 2013, we issued 462. So those numbers were down. Mechanical permits, they were up by almost 100. So it's just kind of a seesaw right now. Things have been pretty flat, and I think will probably continue to remain flat. This is probably more the norm for this area than what we got accustomed to in 04, 05, and 06 when we were having spikes of $100 million worth of construction activity versus the 23, 24, 25 million. This is probably more the norm and more the standard for what we would see around here than the 100 million that we saw at one time. Any questions on these reports?
Are all the permits, do you issue all the permits?
I issue all the building permits. I don't do a business license now. That's done by the finance office now, but I do all the building, electrical, and mechanical permits.
So if they issue one through that, do they still have to come see you?
If they come to if an individual comes to my office for a building permit, and they don't have a business license, then we do send them to the finance office to get their business license, and then they come back to us to get the building permit.
You all share that information so you can keep up with this?
No, not really. I mean, we used to, and what I was going to show you here was we had a program written to manage our database for our building permits, and we tied into that business license data that we used on a regular basis. Now, the system that they use is not compatible with the program that we have, so occasionally I'll have to request a copy of the building or the business license data to see who's licensed and who's not.
Any other questions? Not, thanks, Dwayne.
All right. Our program here, I'll show you real quick. This is an internet-based program. Software Masters here in Madison County, Ken Jensen was the one that wrote this program for us, and we've shown this program to a lot of different municipalities and to actually the State Department of Housing, and they're looking at switching over to this same type of program. But our reason for coming up with an internet-based program was to make it easier for the consumers, make it easier for the builders to be able to access information, to be able to, they can apply for building permits online. They can, we're just probably shortly after the holidays, we'll be going online with an online payment system where they can actually pay for the permits online. So right now they can log into the system, establish their own username and password, apply for the permit. When they apply for a permit, it pops up on our inbox here for building permits. It gives us the opportunity to be able to review and approve that permit. Once we approve it, it automatically emails the contractor the information to let them know your permit's been approved. So we take care of all that online. As a builder, it saves them the time of having to come into our office and sit and wait, stand in line to wait for a permit, kill 30, 45 minutes to an hour to get a permit. This allows them to do it at their convenience. It's there. It notifies them instantly by email that the permit's been approved. They can get back online through any of the mobile devices. They can access their permit information. They can see what inspections have been approved. They can request inspections, and it automatically pops up on my inbox here. These are inspections that have been requested. As you can see, I can assign those inspections to different inspectors to allow them the option to be able to. So I can once I assign it to an inspector, when he goes to do the inspections, he can log on to his mobile device. When he hits update, he can approve it in the field, so it automatically emails the contractor again on his smartphone or his iPad. It emails him instantly and says, hey, your inspection was approved. That saves them phone calls to us or driving to the site to see if there's an approval sticker on it. We found this is really, it's increasing in activity on a regular basis because it's making it's easier, it's using the technology to be able to allow them to use their time more wisely, and it allows us the ability to. Our guys in the field, if they're working with a certain permit, they can pull up the information on the permit. They can view all the information, what the permit was issued for, answer many questions that are available or that they may run into on site. And the other thing we're doing is we're using this document management system now that Fiscal Court approved. We're using that to store all the data electronically, all the permit data and the blueprints for the jobs. We're storing those in the document management system. So again, our guys in the field can use the can use their mobile device to pull up the plans for the job on site if there's a discrepancy in what they assumed to be that the permit was issued for as opposed to what was shown on the plan. So it's just opened up the availability for us to be able to utilize the technology to be more efficient and streamline the process, not only for us within the office, but for the end user out here in the field, for the contractors and those kind of things. And then we have the ability to generate reports on the fly for whatever information that an individual's looking for. We can do a search for any activity. If you wanted to see all the building permits that were issued in a certain subdivision or a certain contractor, how many permits has he pulled and where is he building most of the time? We can search it by any kind of activity you've got there. The way we had it set up originally was we had it set up where we had business license in here too, and it was set up to where you would issue the business license through this program, and it would make them active in the program. If you had a business that came in, for example, from out of town that didn't have a local business license, the system would not allow us to even issue a permit to that contractor without an active or a valid business license. So it gave us the capability to be able to utilize that at that point and be able to control that data like that. And we're using it now just to retain contractor information. But anyway, that's the way the system was designed to be used, to be comprehensive and all-inclusive in the information that helps us to be able to flow a little more smoothly on a regular basis.
How long you been using it?
We've been using it about a year now. We've been, it's like any other new program. We've been tweaking it on a regular basis. But, the beauty of this thing is we can pull up any information. If you just punch in an address, it'll give you a snapshot of all activity for that particular piece of property, and it'll show you here building permits, electrical permits, mechanical permits. It'll show you if there's been if it's a piece of abandoned property. It allows the mortgage companies to register vacant properties online. The public can use it if they want to file a nuisance complaint on a certain piece of property. They can come in and they can file a nuisance complaint. Just go to the county's website, and when you click on a property maintenance complaint, it will link you to this website. They can fill out their property maintenance complaint online. It pops up here on our inbox and allows us to be able to see what the complaint was. There's one for Jonathan Drive. This was their complaint. It's a snaky mess. People have been throwing trash, food, leftovers, yada, yada, yada. This is their complaint. It gives us the name of the person that was complaining, their telephone number, sometimes even an email address, which allows us to be able to follow up with them immediately. I can assign that property maintenance complaint to one of my individuals. I can see who it was assigned to, and if this person says, hey, nobody ever followed back up with me, what are we doing on this? I can go back to who it was assigned to and say, you needed to follow up to this individual. So it allows me to be able to do some QC on my staff and their performance, but it also gives us an accurate record of the information that's there and contact information, so we can contact the public back and allow them to see what progress is being made.
So your rollout was more effective than the Affordable Care Act?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest, I've waited to showcase this to you guys to make sure all the kinks were worked out of it, because I didn't want to stand up and tout on something that absolutely was not working.
That's a good idea, Dwayne.
I've learned you learn from other people's mistakes best you can.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Any other department heads?
Do you want an update on the EOC project, Judge, or?
Yeah, why don't you, Carl? It's the end of the year and we're getting ready to get up, kind of trying to keep everybody up to date on what's going on.
Yeah, we been meeting weekly telecon with all the the players, the main architects, and all their main subs, as well as Mission Critical, which is the consultant that FEMA provided to the county for this project, as well as one of the state reps that's supposed to be following it from emergency management. 95% drawings were delivered on Friday, which means we think what we have designed today is 95% of what it'll look like when it's done. So our comments are due back to all the architects and their subs January the 10th, and we'll have a meeting on January the 16th to go over all those comments and finalize the drawings, and then we'll be ready to issue that for bid. So we're looking at bidding in February, having bids awarded the first meeting of March, and start construction right after that. Actually, probably we'll start construction, because a lot of the building inside is being removed and replaced and modified significantly. For instance, the roof is going to be 3 foot higher than it is today on one portion of the building. So that's a lot of work. So that's kind of where we're at. Budget, we're looking good on budget. We've got everyone, we think, pretty happy. We've been working with Chief Cox and Wendy and Karen, making sure 911's facilities are going to be adequate, making sure fires are going to be adequate, and of course, I'm taking care of our own for EMA CSEP. Fire department's basically moved out. We got some minor housekeeping to take care of. Rescue squad is basically out, a little housekeeping to take care of. We're moving the corner in the next 10 days. They're doing the electric over at his new facility this week, and then we'll be moving the cooler and things for the corner, and then my group's the last to move. We've moved most of our infrastructure and our electronics, but we haven't physically moved any bodies yet, and I don't plan to till the first or second week of February. But overall, going well, and just like any big project, when you're talking $5-6 million project, there's a lot of stuff to do, but it's going well. I'm pretty happy right now. Any questions from anybody? No? All right. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Carl.
Judge, I wanted to, I neglected to do it last meeting. I want to thank Carl while he's up here for letting us use the room in the basement of Berea City Hall. They allowed us to use that room downstairs while we remodeled upstairs. It's been open a couple of weeks. Customers really seem to like it. It's a beautiful space. The ladies down there did a good job picking. I let them pick color-wise because they're the one who has to live in it and look at it. So.
That's wise.
And I invite everybody down there in the southern part of the county to go down and look around. It's and see our new office down there. I think it's going to be a real asset to the Berea City Hall and the southern part of the county.
Good deal. Good job, Kenny. Thanks. Any other department heads? Mike, you've already given your report. Comments from magistrates, Greg?
I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It's been a good year. Seems like it's just flew by, and we've got a lot accomplished this year, and hopefully the new year will bring a lot more, and appreciate all the staff we have and hope that they all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Greg. Roger?
Well, same Merry Christmas to everybody. I'm kind of losing my voice, kind of like the judge, I guess, but Valley View Ferry was open for a couple of days, and then the high water got us, and the debris so bad they can't even keep it cleared out to try to run the boat at all. So it's back down this morning. Probably going to be down for a few days because the water's going to come down from the eastern part of the state. Usually hits us about 2 days later, so it's probably there by now. Leroy and I went down to Crow Valley Road last night, and I guess we've closed it until we can try to get a new road through there. It's dropped so much and such a length that Leroy can tell you there's no reason to try to blacktop it anymore or repair it. You just can't do it. Just keep sliding off. So it's just going to have to be closed until we can get the legal matters taken care of and try to get a new road through there.
And probably looking at January and getting a judgment. There's two steps that we have to go through, one of which has already been done. The second we're working on. It's going as quickly as the framework allows it to go. So I think pretty close we should see some opportunities for us to go ahead and do it.
I want to apologize to the people in that community. There's not much we can do about it. I know they can say that years back we should have already had something done, but we tried to go through the process that you want to go through to start with, and if that doesn't work, you got to go the legal route. So, but I do apologize to the people in the community.
Mark, thank you and your staff, Jubal, for expediting that. Because we knew the road was going. I mean, it was just a matter, and then with all this water and stuff. But he's ready. Once we get the okay from the court system, then we'll fall in, and it won't take a long time to fix it. We'll get it back running. Bill Ray?
Mark Robbins, he's got talent in his family. He got a son that's a pretty good musician. And I remember seeing one of them first videos when he was just a kid, but he's really talented. Anyway, Mark, he organized a fundraiser for last Friday night for Grace Now and the Shop with a Cop, raised a lot of money, brought together a who's who of talent from Richmond. Andy Rucker and Mike Howard and John Harden and so many others, your son, and you really did a nice job.
Well, thank you. It certainly wasn't me. You know, Lori had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of good people in this community. They all came together last week. It was an awesome event. Very happy to have a very small part in it. We were able to deliver Shop with a Cop a check last week for a little over $4,000. And hopefully, if things shake out this afternoon, maybe closer to $5,000 for the food bank, Grace Now. So a lot of good folks here, a lot of need in this community, but a lot of good folks that are willing to address it. So thank you for acknowledging that. It wasn't me. There's a whole lot of people, but it was a lot of fun too. There's a lot of talent in this community.
Didn't Salem Moody used to wear bow ties like that, right?
I'm a little young to remember Salem Moody. Although I will say that the first bar Christmas party that we went to, my wife had the good fortune of sitting next to Salem. So she was indoctrinated by fire very quickly, and after that, let's just say that I've lost a bet. I've got my best Mayor Connolly act going on today, but it'll be a while before you see this again. I promise you that.
Larry?
I appreciate that very much. Thank you for coming. It was a great event.
Larry?
Judge, let me explain my no vote on the budget. It's not that I'm against the budget, but I just need a little more time to look at it since I just got it this morning. And it's no reflection on you, Mike. I'm all for the budget, but there's some questions I want to ask you, and I will. I'll come over to your office. We'll go through it. That's no problem. The other thing, we had a bill in here for $4,654 for legal fees for planning. Why we got
I
outside?
can explain that if you want to, or
okay.
Dwayne can. It's where the planning commission turned down a proposed zone change in a subdivision about exactly what they just turned down, and the individual that owned the subdivision wanted to go to circuit court to try to get it overridden, and it was finally settled in our favor. But and Mark has looked at Mark and I have talked about the fees, and they spent a lot of time in court, a lot of correspondence back and forth with his attorneys, but that was one of those deals where the property owner didn't feel like that he'd been treated fairly and tried to override the planning commission's recommendation, and that's what it cost, and I'm sure it cost him about the same.
And Larry, that's something that we typically do through my office. I had a conflict because I represented the plaintiff in
I
my
understand.
private office too. So
Okay.
typically those are things that we're able to save the money on, but just not this one time.
Maybe next time we'll ask for court costs. But that's fine, I understand that. Let me give you some good news for Berea, and I've been working on this for several years, and we're fortunate to have a good clerk that has really worked hard on it, Darlene Snyder, and now in February, we're gonna start giving the driver's test and the permits and everything in Berea. And that's great. I mean, it just takes a lot of work off them here. And then I can remember when I first come to Richmond to take my test, and, a little old country boy like me, and you come in town, you see a big city, you're a little bit scared. And I was at that time, because that's been a long, long time ago. But this way, we'll be able to do that in Berea. The parents don't have to drive all the way to Richmond. The kids can take their tests there, and the other part too, the permit. So I think it's something really good. Other than that, I just want to say happy holidays to all.
And Larry, I might add, I didn't single you out. None of the magistrates got a copy of that budget until this morning also.
Okay, I understand, Judge.
We just had to get it finalized and done and get it to you. Any comments from the audience? Anybody like to come up, say a few words? If not, next court date will be, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna trust them, January 14th, Tuesday. Motion to pay the claims and approve the transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Again, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.